Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is your latest Manchester United news. As we say, not again. I mean, it's just so predictable. The hamster wheel, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, are you bored of this? Are you excited by this? Players leaking. They're not happy again. I mean, it's not even, I wouldn't even wake Beyonce up for this to sing Deja Vu. It's an absolute waste of time. And it's so bloody predictable, it becomes irrelevant. But some people are really excited about this. They're backing the players for not backing the manager. The leaks, there's more leaks than a bloody hedgehog's pipe work. That doesn't even work. Because it's not, I can't even be asked to think of an agenda. It's just, you know, ridiculous. So we'll get into that. Paul Scholes has said some interesting stuff. We'll go through the leaks. You can ask me anything about it, by the way. I mean, I've projected my opinion on you for 24 hours, so I really want to delve into what you're thinking tonight. I mean, I don't want to insult anybody, but I do find it really boring that people are saying sack the manager. I find it really boring. I mean, I just don't get that stance, but we can get into that. But all I am going to say from the start is that I just want to show you that. I want to show you that, and I want to leave it there because I want, you know what that is? Can you guess what this is? It's symbolic. It's symbolic of the problem that goes beyond the manager. Because as I said this morning, maybe the manager is sacking himself. The stuff coming out of Benfica is quite interesting. Maybe the media are sacking Amorim. Maybe you are sacking Amorim. Maybe the players are sacking Amorim. Maybe the owners will sack Amorim. But as Fasundo says, that's the starting 11 for the Europa League final, which was one of the shittest performances I've seen from Man United in years. The worst ever European final I've ever watched for Manchester United. And that wasn't about tactics. That wasn't about system. That was just about a shit show from a team that, you know, never even turned up. There's only two players out of that team this season. Rasmus and Onana. They're the only two. So when you look at that team, it's mainly still here. Sack the manager, by all means. Blame the manager, by all means. But don't talk to me about the manager being the only problem at this football club, because that stunned me earlier. I sort of just thought, what was the team in the Europa League final? And then I put it up and I thought, well, Rasmus Sesko, does it really make a massive amount of difference? Onana Biyinda, does it really make a massive amount of difference? No and no. We've basically got the same bloody team that couldn't be asked in the Europa League final that would have changed our whole season this year if they had. So whoever comes in next, or even if Amorim stays, as I said this morning, I don't know that it gets better. I really don't know that it gets better. And the reason I put that there is as I move on to this is coming out today. Listen to this, and this is going to stay up the whole show. The players are still struggling to get to grips with Amorim's style almost 11 months after he took over. Bruno Fernandes is believed to be unhappy operating in a deeper midfield role. United sources said it would be wrong to suggest that Amorim has lost the dressing room and insists he still has the support among the squad. I mean, how many more times are we going to give these players the opportunity to be unhappy, earning hundreds of thousands of pounds a week at Manchester United? And how many more times are we actually going to listen to them? I mean, I don't know who they think they are, because greats they are not. They are not. I mean, the fact that 9 of that team from the Europa League final were still using them says everything to me. Absolutely everything. Like, we should not be using these players. And yet they still have a say. Journalists still listen to them. If they are making it up, maybe they're making it up, maybe they're not. But how many more times do we go through this? Like, keep your gob shut, do your job. We're bored of you, you know? I'm so bored of hearing about players not being... So, let me just get this right. You couldn't play a 4-3-3 under Ten Hag and you complained about his tactics. You couldn't play Ollie's football and you complained about his tactics. You can't play Amorim's football and you complained about his tactics. You couldn't play Rangnick's football and you complained about his tactics. I mean, look, whatever about the manager, we can have that chat, and we will have that chat because some of the news is about the manager. But just looking at that, Europa League final, 15th in the league. Your whole season's been an absolute joke. You have one game against the perennial bottlers Spurs to get in the Champions League, get a pay increase, make your season better. You don't even turn up. We've still got 9 of those players here. And they're all bloody moaning again about tactics. I mean, have they ever looked in the mirror and gone, the reason you can't play Ten Hag ball, the reason you can't play Rangnick ball, and the reason you can't play Amorim ball is because you're shit. You know, have you ever looked in the mirror and gone, why is it I can't play for that manager, I can't play for that manager, and I can't play for that manager? You're either the most unluckiest player in the world that you've had 3 managers with 3 different systems and you can't play any of them, or you're shit. You know, what is it? What is it? And I was watching the show that Beth did earlier about Amorim apparently saying that the system's not the problem, it's the mentality of the players. Yabba dabba do it is. 100% it is. I don't trust these players. I don't trust that team. I don't trust the team yesterday. I didn't trust the team that Ollie put out. I didn't trust the team that Ten Hag put out. I haven't trusted a Man United side since when? When was the last time a United side went out on the pitch and you trusted them? Ajax under Mourinho. I trusted us to win that game, mainly because I felt they were playing for the manager. I felt the manager knew what he was doing, and I thought we'd find a result. I can't remember. What a great question that is. When was the last time you trusted a Man United side going into a game? I think Ajax Europa League final was the last time I felt confident that we would actually win the game. And that's how many years ago? Disgusting, isn't it? Disgusting. And the scary thing is, people will say, well, that's not unusual. It's bloody unusual. What is it, 8 years ago? I haven't trusted a Man United side for 8 years. I guarantee Liverpool trust their team to beat Burnley. I don't trust us to beat Burnley. I don't trust us to beat Sunderland. I don't trust us to beat Brentford. I don't trust this team. So whatever the manager is, I don't trust these players. So you know what you can do with your leaks? You can shove them back up your arse because they don't care. I'm not bothered about what the players think. You know, if Bruno Fernandes doesn't want to play in the midfield, it's funny because I definitely remember an interview quite recently where he was talking about playing in the midfield and how it's better for him because he gets to survey the game better, and you know he's done it before and he's had one of his best games for Man United playing against Everton in the midfield. Pretty sure he did do that interview. So the going gets tough and he doesn't fancy it. I don't know. Look, ultimately, I don't give 2 shits about the leaks. It doesn't matter to me at all because we've seen it all before, we've heard it all before, and I really don't care about it. All I care really about is your opinion. I think as fans, we've been through enough, and you are fans. I don't think players are fans. I think players are driven by greed. I think they're driven by extending their own career. I don't think they're fans of this football club because I think if the players were fans of this football club, I wouldn't watch piss-poor performances like that against Spurs or yesterday against Man City because I know if I put 11 of you out, you'd bleed for the club. I don't think they bleed for the club. I think they are blame shifters. And I think they've proven that. They cannot be trusted. And they might not like those home truths, but the day I really take notice of what a United player is saying about Man United, well, I haven't witnessed that day for 8 years, and I don't think I'm about to witness it this season either. Gone are the days of, you know, Ryan Giggs and Roy Keane and co, who you might actually listen to because you know they give a shit. I don't actually detect that from any player at the moment. So, you know, boo fucking who? You know, if you're offended by that, maybe you should turn up and start playing consistently and build that trust back. So, you know, blame shifters, blame the manager. What? Breaking news. What a surprise. I'm really shocked. Can I have another article tomorrow in the Manchester Evening News about the players leaking against Amorim? Bloody hell, you know. As I say, I'd rather listen to you lot. I'm not massively interested in that. Let me just go through some other bits though. This is from Mike Keegan. He says, United views progress is being made despite progress is being made despite the results. The impact of injuries to key players such as Cunha and Mount has also been noted. Ruben Amorim retains the backing of the Man United board, who believe he's the man to turn the fortunes around. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you know, some people will say that that's the dreaded vote of confidence. Some people will say it is actually true that Ineos are backing him. I think that, look, Do I think Ineos are backing Amorim? Yes. Do I think that he's the guy who can turn it all around? I think they're hoping he is. I mean, it's... Why would you get your knickers in a twist about it, is what I would say. You know, Ineos or the Glazers or Glinios, can we just call them, I know it's immature, but let's call them Glinios because I can't be asked to go Ineos and the Glazers, because let's not forget, the Glazers still own over 50% of the club. Ineos only own 28%, so we can't say Ineos, we can't say the Glazers, we have to say Glinios. Do I think that they're backing Amorim? Yes. Do I think that they think he's the man to bring back the glory days? Yes. But remember what I've just said. Do I think Glinios think Amorim's the guy to take them back to success? Yes, I do. Do I think they're backing Amorim genuinely? Yes, I do. Do I think it's the dreaded vote of confidence where they say they're backing the manager but really going to sack him? No. No, I don't. Because I think they've invested too much money, and I genuinely think they think it's going to be okay. The kicker is that who have I just described as backing Amorim and believing he's the right man? The Glazers and Ineos. Do you really trust their footballing opinion? You know, I'd rather listen to Ant and Dec. Like, I don't believe the Glazers and Ineos know that much about football. So them backing this manager and thinking he's the right guy, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's a bit like the players leaking. I don't care if they leak because I don't trust them. And I don't care whether the Glazers and Ineos are going to back Amorim and say he's the guy for the job because I don't trust them either. So, you know, I genuinely think they are backing him. I genuinely think they think he is the guy. But I don't trust their opinion. As I said to you this morning, some of their decision making over the last 18 months collectively has been abysmal. So no, I don't disagree that they are backing him. But I genuinely don't think that they are planning on sacking him anytime soon. I don't. And I have no information on that, but I don't detect that they are. I would imagine that probably, yeah, in a way, I do agree with this. I would imagine that they're looking at it and going, losses to Arsenal and Man City are not going to make us sack a manager. Just the same as last season with Ten Hag. It wasn't the losses to Man City or Arsenal that were going to get Ten Hag sacked. It was Watford that got Ollie sacked. It was West Ham that got Ten Hag sacked. It won't be Chelsea that gets Amorim sacked. It will be Brentford or it will be Sunderland. It will be a game like that. That's when it becomes untenable. And I think at the moment they won't be. You had people last night saying sack him tonight. You had people saying he's got to go. It's a personal opinion, of course. Well done, but it was never going to happen, and it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen until you hit that rock bottom. But yeah, they're not going to do it at this stage. There was also something in the Mirror. Amorim's rigid 3-4-3 formation and his refusal to adapt to any other setup is said to have caused huge concern among key members of the squad. Some United players are said to feel Amorim is undermining them by repeatedly asking them to fit into a system they are not equipped to play. I mean, that is the biggest clown bit of journalism I've ever heard. I wouldn't even put my name to it. And if a player was saying that's true, I'd put the player's name in it because it's laughable. It's laughable that United players would feel that Amorim is undermining them by asking them to do their job. I mean, are we forgetting Grimsby here? I mean, are these players this shit that they actually need a system and a formation to beat Grimsby? Like, 3-4-3 is not rocket science. It has been around for a while. There are teams in the Premier League using it. I just don't buy into that. I was listening to Paul Scholes earlier and he said, I don't blame the system for losing to Man City. The system was absolutely fine against Arsenal. I don't blame the system for losing to Man City. They lost to Man City because of individual errors. And I sort of do agree with that. I thought for 20 minutes we're okay. We didn't beat Fulham because of individual errors. We didn't beat Burnley because of individual errors. I mean, when look, take Grimsby out of the equation, we shouldn't have lost to Arsenal. We should have beat Fulham. We should have been 4-0 up against Burnley. And you know, we weren't that bad yesterday until we made bloody mistakes again. I think the big issue with Amorim, and none of us can hide away from it, is his reluctance to change certain players. I mean, as I said to you this morning, I just think he's got to pick Casemiro and Agate, or Agate and Mainu from now on. And it'll be Bruno next week. And this is where I think it ends. I am not sitting here saying that Amorim's going to survive, by the way. I don't know why. I read comments about why is Goldbridge on the Amorim payroll. I almost think people must be deaf. Like, you're not listening. I don't want to sack the manager. I really don't. I don't think it will solve us any problems. I actually would rather we just stuck with something and tried to find our way through it, no matter how long it takes. Because that's what we did with Sir Alex. That's what other managers did with, that's what Arsenal did with Arteta. They just stuck with him and stuck with the plan. At some point, you've got to find the right guy and stick with them. And it will get better before it will get worse before it gets better. But I don't think that's going to happen because this guy is just picking Bruno Fernandes in the midfield every week and has a shit goalkeeper. And I don't think he's going to stop doing that. And I don't think we're going to stop losing games either. I think Bruno Fernandes is a huge problem at Manchester United. And, I'm willing to have that argument with anybody. And I like Bruno, but I think he's an absolute bloody nightmare in this team at the moment. And as I said this morning, I thought his interview after the game was disgusting. Shocking. It worries me. I don't mind if we lose games, but we're together as a team. I can't stand losing games and then waking up to leaks and slagging each other off and throwing each other under the bus. It's just the same every year. I mean, you're never going to be a team when the players aren't a team. And it's just little bitching and little, throwing the arms in the air and slagging each other off and leaking against each other and blame shifting. It's the same old shit, And I don't think things are going to get any better. And I don't know whether people agree or disagree. But on the manager, I'm not disagreeing with anybody. I think it's inevitable he's going to get sacked. I think I said it last night. It's inevitable he's going to get sacked because he's got some very strange ideas around team selections. I just don't think the system is the problem. I think it's the team selections. I personally believe, and it's funny, isn't it? Because I said this a couple of weeks ago. I would go with Mainu and Agate for the next 5 games. I'd just stick it out. Might lose to Chelsea, might draw with Brentford, but I would stick it out because the big problem Amorim's got at the moment, and look, he's clearly very stubborn. But if I could give advice to Amorim, I would say this. You've got about 60% of this fan base with you. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe some people are voting against you because they're pissed off with the derby. But you've got between 60 and 70% of the fan base with you. You could stabilise that by picking a midfield that everyone can believe in. Even though we know we needed a midfielder, you could stabilise it. You could go, I'm just going to drop Casemiro and Agate, or I'm going to drop Mainu and Agate, and I'm going to stick with them. But the Bruno thing, nobody, I've never heard any United fan say, I like Bruno in the midfield. I've never heard a case for it. I've never seen one of you say it. I've never seen Eddie Pundit say it. I've never, ever heard anybody say, you know what? I don't think Bruno's a problem in the midfield. I think he's absolutely fine. And that's crazy to me because you're sacking yourself, Emily Derry says, Ineos have to consider whether sacking Amorim is feeding player power or not. We can't have a repeat of the last 4 managers, but Bruno in the midfield may well be a public P45, says Emily Derry. But you know what? This is what I mean. I knew this would happen, right? There are people in our fan base that were trying to say that the transfer window was an 8. There was people in the fan base trying to give it a 7, right? There's content creators, there's websites, there's journalists trying to spoon feed you positivity around a shit transfer window. And the great thing is, all you got to do is wait. I knew this transfer window was a 5. I knew it was below average. You could say it was a 4, but I knew it based on years of experience, and I knew I was right. And I had people, the night of that transfer window when it closed, and we did that really good show breaking it down, and I had it broken down from Delap all the way through to Le Mans, and I broke it down why it was a 5. I still had people giving me abuse. I don't give a shit about that, but I was like, I'm not going to argue with you. I've broken it down over an hour and a half. Tell me now who's right. All of us who said that was a below par transfer window, or are some people trying to tell us it was good? It was never good. It was never a good window. It wasn't. It's riddled with holes. And some people were saying, well, you know what? It's at least a 6 because of the crap we got rid of. Hello? Hello? How many times have we said this? The Europa League final team, look at it. The most embarrassing pinnacle of a shit season. Look at how many of those players are still here. And people think we got rid of the deadwood. Garnacho, not even in the team. Rashford wasn't even there. Anthony wasn't even there. Malacia wasn't even there. Sancho wasn't even there. Oh, we had a great summer transfer window. We had a brilliant summer transfer window. Oh, it was so good. Ericsson and Lindelof gone as well. Not even there. Like, we got rid of 7 players and none of them were even in that final. Now, I'm not saying that they weren't players that we needed to get rid of, but maybe we should have looked at 2 or 3 from that fucking team as well, you know? Maybe that would have been a proper fucking clear out, because we always get it wrong. We always get it wrong. I find it amazing that 9 of those players are still here. We're still there. All I can imagine is, let's play catchphrase. Who am I, right? Who am I? I've got something on my lap. Shh. Shh. This is all you get at United, right? A big old canister of Mr. Sheen and a duster. And this is what you have to do on this team here. Right, where is it? Let me get this right. Here we go. Shh. 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 What am I doing? Polishing a turd. That's all we're doing all the time. We're just polishing a turd. 9 of those players are still at this club. And they absolutely shat the place out, didn't they? And that's what I mean. It wasn't a good summer transfer window at all. Now, who's culpable for that? I don't know. I don't know whose decision that was. I don't know. I don't know, really. But it ain't no surprise. Like, I see a lot of justifiable frustration and I see a lot of justifiable anger. In fact, I was speaking to somebody this morning in the supermarket and they were talking to me about United. They were absolutely brilliant, really, really, really good person, you know, like nice person. And they were hammering him out. And they were going, he's got to go. I listen to your show all the time, but he's got to go. And I said, mate, you don't need to justify it to me. This is the whole point of the United stand. You've got your opinion, and that's fine. And they were like, well, why aren't you hammering him out? And I said, because, you know what? I look at that team, and it isn't better than Spurs, and it isn't better than Newcastle. And he went, well, I don't know about that, about Spurs. And I said, well, I mentioned it on the show this morning. I said, let's go through it. They've got a better defence. They've definitely got a better midfield. And the attack is probably the same. And they've got a better goalkeeper. So how are they not a better team than us? We might have some better individuals, but as a team, Spurs are better than us. As a team, Newcastle are better than us. So if the top 6 are better than us, and we want to be 7th, and we might not even be 7th, how many games do you expect to lose if you finish 7th? You've got to be about 12, hasn't it? We've lost to Arsenal and Man City. Would you expect to lose them if you're going to lose 12? If you're going to lose about a third of your games, would you expect to lose to Arsenal and Man City? And they went, yeah. And I went, so at the end of the day, you might dislike the system, you might dislike the manager, but we probably are somewhere between 7th and 12th, and you will lose 12 games at least in that area. And we've lost to Man City and Arsenal. And they went, okay. And I went, I'm not saying you can't be hammering him out. What I'm saying is, it's not the time to sack him yet. You know, we might finish 7th and lose 12 games. At the end of the season, you'd go, that's not too bad. And that's where I am. I'm sort of like, I don't think this is going to work. I think it's going to go wrong. But I definitely don't think that this football club should be jumping early on this. I think you've got to see it through. Because we can't keep shortening how long we give a manager, in my mind. And who's to say we won't beat Chelsea on Saturday? Who's to say we won't beat Brentford and Sunderland, win our next 3, and we'll be in a much better position? I don't know yet. I think it's highly unlikely, but I don't know yet. Let me go through some of your comments anyway, because I feel like this show is flying by, which is what it can be like sometimes. Mark, my biggest problem is we do not score enough goals over the course. The midfield is bad, but I'm seriously questioning this manager, says Kev. Crocodile Man says, is it just me, or when our attackers put balls into the box, it's more of a hopeful ball than an actual intelligent pass? Feel bad for Sheshko at the moment, says Crocodile Man. I think this is a very... I want to just answer this very, very quickly, because I think it's a very, very good point. I see Manchester United putting a lot of crosses into the box. I also watch a lot of football. Jacob Murphy to Voltemeda at the weekend is a good cross. There was also a cross from Robertson to Chiesa in the Burnley game yesterday. He didn't score from it. I watch other games and I see a lot of good crosses into the box. When you watch Man United, they're shit. They're shit. And we think that most crosses aren't very good and it's good defending. But you can put a cross onto somebody's head and a centre-back a metre in front of them can't get their head on it. That's a good cross. We don't put good crosses into the box. I think the best crosser of the ball we've got is probably Luke Shaw, and he can't play left-back anymore. So the crossing into the box is shit from United. It really is. And I know that's a side point, but I think it's a good point. Like, we are really crap at crossing. We put crosses into the box, but they're not very good. And you go and watch other teams, and you'll see what I mean. Like, Jacob Murphy, he's not bloody David Beckham, is he? His cross takes the jumping Wolves centre-back out the game, who's a metre in front of Voltemeda, goal. That's crossing. Glenios should rebrand United to Mr. Sheen FC, says Jack. When leaks leak this like this, the manager out is imminent, says Brendan. Yeah, and it makes me feel sorry for the next manager because they'll do it to him as well. Bruno early in the first half gave Dorgu a dirty look for making a bad pass to him. The captain is a reflection of the team. He may be a good player, but he is a toxic captain, says Ramazan. I agree. Sadly, I agree. I'm disgusted with what he said about Yoro. I'm fed up with the throwing the arms in the air. And we've all played the game. And to be honest with you, I can't think of a captain I've ever responded to that has thrown their arms up in the air and shouted at me. The only captain I probably would do that for is Roy Keane, because I massively respect him and I think he's brilliant. I ain't fucking listening to Bruno Fernandes throwing his hands in the air. I'm sorry. I'm just going to go, mate, you've cost us 2 fucking goals this season. Shut up. And that's what I mean. His attitude is just so bad. And I've defended it for so long. And I actually think it's a problem. I really do. I really do. And I don't want to think that. And maybe he's the best captain we've got, but he's not the captain we need at the moment. I mean, I don't know whether we've got the right type of captain, but what you need at the moment is sort of like obviously you need a Roy Keane, but a John Terry. You need someone like that who can... Look, Vidic was a good captain, but you need... John Terry was a different type of captain. You know, like he was Mr. Chelsea, organiser at the back. You know, I think United probably need something that's not there. You need somebody who gets it. You need somebody that gets what the club is all about. And I just don't think we've got anything, really. He probably is the best of what we got, but he ain't the right guy. Maguire won games on his own last season. One of the best centre-backs in the league. United weren't conceding many, just couldn't score, and he's playing Fatty ahead. This is Red Army. I mean, it doesn't really offer anything, do you, mate? 100% with you on Amorim's team selection is questionable, says Nectario. Thank you, pal. Luke Shaw and his 8th manager. Let that sink in, says Polford. As I said, like some of these comments, I don't want to just breeze past them. 8 managers for Luke Shaw, and you know what? Again, is there a topic here that why is Amorim picking him? Like, he's been picking him consistently. He picked him in the Europa League final. That's the Europa League final team, by the way, if you're tuning in. He picked him in the final. He cost us a goal. Like, I don't get it. He's on the leadership group. He's played shit since he came back. And he's playing every week. I just don't get it. And at some point he'll get injured and be out for 6 months. I mean, why would you not go for Aiden Heaven? I just don't get it. I really don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. I agree with sticking with your style of play, but you also have to survive. Arteta in the first 2 years played to survive. Ruben isn't even trying to live, says Matthew. Joshua says, I think people are forgetting we dropped Bruno for Mainu and they went and lost to a 4th division side, says Joshua. Emily Derry done that. Do a backflip, Goldbridge, says Thomas. I couldn't do that 20 years ago. I definitely can't do it now. Victoria says, the formation and lack of understanding that players have of it are causing these individual errors. There is a literal overloads in every part of the pitch because this philosophy is wrong for United. It's clear as day. Not disagreeing with you, but can we just go back to Ten Hag's last season where every week the analysis was the midfield is wide open? That was a 4-3-3. So I don't mind people saying this system doesn't work, this formation doesn't work. But let's not pretend it's just a formational shift that's needed. Like, I have a memory, you have a memory. Don't abuse your memory. Don't put yourself down. You're intelligent people. In Ten Hag's last season, our midfield got ran through all the time. So I just don't think that we should be sat there going, you know, that's not the case, because it definitely was. So I don't know why people think that just changing the formation is going to make a big massive difference, because I don't think it will. Really. 1 minute, I've just got to get this. It's true though, isn't it? It is true. I think that there are people out there that I think there definitely are people out there that think if we just went to a 4-3-3 on Saturday, we'd beat Chelsea. And like the midfield under Ten Hag as a 4-3-3 was wide open, and unfortunately, it's the same midfield. Mainu played in that midfield. Casemiro played in that midfield. Bruno played in that field. Now, unless you think Ugarte is Kimmich reincarnated, and Kimmich is alive and well, but you know what I mean. Like, that midfield was getting run through with Ten Hag in a 4-3-3. So again, we're back here, aren't we? If you think a 4-3-3 is going to solve all our problems, we're doing this again. Polishing the turd and thinking it's going to work. It won't. It won't work. 4-3-3 gave us second place. What year was that, mate? Was I in Pampers then? What year did we finish in second place with a 4-3-3? What players was that? Do we have those players now? Is it valid? Or am I right? Is that the problem? I'm right. Oh God, I hate it when I'm right. I do. I don't like it, because I don't like saying I told you so. But second place with Jose, how many years ago was that? You're telling me let's go to a 4-3-3 and everything will be okay. I'm telling you now, the same midfield that played a 4-3-3 was fucking shit. So, you know, we don't have those players, I don't think. James says, it's going to take time. I think we lose against the top 4 home and away. We can win against the rest at home. I think we can win 7 away games this season. I disagree. I don't think it's going to get any better, mate. I really don't. I do not think it's going to get better, but I hope I'm wrong. I believe Bruno initially wanted to leave, so 2 10s were bought in. Then Bruno changed his mind. Surely can be the only reason we bought 2 number 10s, says Ronnie. I disagree with you, Ronnie. I don't think we bought 2 number 10s because Bruno was going to leave. I think we bought 2 number 10s because Amorim thinks Bruno's a number 8. Exactly my super chat last night. I said Shaw's performance was so bad it couldn't be down to skill, but trying to get the manager fired. I think we need to come to the realisation that we're not the United that wins against the big teams. We're not good enough, says James. Sack him now while the season's salvageable. Baz, I never thought I'd say this, but how is this season salvageable? I would love to know. I'd love to know how we salvage this season, because I want to hear more from Baz. What would Baz do to make this season salvageable? Because I don't see it. I really don't. I mean, I'll happily go down Tesco and get you loads of Mr. Sheen, but I still think you're polishing a turd. And also, Mark, you abused me for my stance and comments on Amorim's way of play, yet now literally ex-pros and current players are singing the same tune. Our results are a clear fact of failure. Don't know what you're talking about, Victoria, because your last 2 comments were fine and couldn't give a shit about current players or ex-pros. I have my own opinions. I agree with the Grizzle, though. Formation change is like moving deck chairs on the Titanic. I couldn't have put it better myself. Wouldn't be surprised if they sack him after Liverpool if it's a big loss. Could be, Callum. You'll laugh, but fancy Roy Keane if Amorim gets canned. I'd like Roy Keane to get the job just for the laugh, but I think it would be the shortest managerial tenure in history, because it just wouldn't. It would be mutiny. There'd be mutiny. I think people think Roy Keane could go in that dressing room, shout at them all, and they'd do as they're told. These players don't respond to that. They would not respond to it at all. They're pampered. They're powerful. And they're inconsistent. They wouldn't just... If someone went in and shouted in that dressing room, they wouldn't respond to it. What makes you think Ten Hag didn't do that? What makes you think Mourinho didn't do that? What makes you think Amorim's not doing that? If Ruben Amorim trusts the youth like Garnacho, Mainu and Rasmus, we can prosper. Since players that have been here through 3 or 4 different managers backstabbing Amorim, says JB. Need to sell Bruno in January. I don't want to. I love him, but it has to be done. We need 4 or 5 more players, says Callum. Everyone and their dog can see Man United shouldn't be playing this style of play, yet this stubborn guy. Victoria, you're getting so boring. God. Right. I ain't going to answer any more of your chat. You do this, like, obviously you're very well off, and you think that because you do 20 and £50 super chats, we all have to sing to your tune. I don't know who you think you are. Like, Piers Morgan. I don't know. You're not more intelligent than everybody else just because you do big super chats, and you're not taking over the show. You're talking out your arse. We've answered it. You just keep going on about changing the formation, and it's boring because I can answer it, and so can everybody else. It's like moving deck chairs on the Titanic. You're not solving this problem, are you? That it's still the same players that sack managers and can't play football. And you're saying, let's try a new formation. It's going to have to be better than that. Because all you're selling is change the manager. And how many times have we done that? And the manager may well sack himself. I'm not sitting here saying, stick with Amorim, stick with Amorim, stick with Amorim. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is, I'm bored of the manager being the problem. And it amazes me that people still think that is the problem. Because it's not. How many more managers are you going to let these players get through? Like, at what point do you go, they're not okay? They're not to blame. Or the owners aren't to blame. You know, the whole club. The whole club. Mark, you predicted 11 on your screen needs updating, says Jungle. It's not predicted. To me, Amorim needs unlimited funds for his vision. We're not in the position to create the vision, and he should never have been hired, says Keel. I absolutely agree with this. I completely agree with this. Hero Creator says, they're just footballers, Mark. Manchester United is the least of their worries. Get them out and bring in passionate and impactful players. Sully says that Mark is waffling. This is mostly a new squad. I mean, look, the great thing about this community is the door is open. We don't have a, dress policy. We don't have an IQ test. And sometimes people will, be defeated without me having to say anything. This is mostly a new squad, apparently. This is the Europa League final team. How many of those players are still here? Space Cowboy Experience, welcome to the Members Club. Roy Keane called Bruno an imposter. He is not my captain. Did he? I didn't know he'd done that, Lottie. Shame on the shower shit players. They're a disgrace. And the board and the owners. Mark, aside from Dorgu, Mazraoui and Yoro, all those players have been here since Ten Hag and before. Maybe we get rid of those first, says Turno. Why you Amorim him if you know he'll always put Bruno at centre midfield, says Dino? It's a good question, actually. You know what? It's a good question. Probably the best question of the night. Well done. Why am I Amorim in if I know he'll always put Bruno in the midfield? Well, I do agree with the second part. I do think he's always going to put Bruno in the midfield. So why am I Amorim in? Stubborn, maybe. Tired, definitely. Don't think he's totally to blame, probably. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be vague, but I don't believe in sacking a manager in 11 months. I think it's disgusting. I think it's incredible. I can't believe we're thinking about sacking another manager. I don't think we can afford to sack another manager. And I think if we do sack a manager, even if it's deserved, then what does that say about the players and the owners as well, who will stay again? So I think I'm just sort of, if I answer the question honestly, I don't think the manager's the problem. I think he might be part of the problem, but I don't think he is the problem. And if the owners can get it so wrong on Amorim, what are they going to do next? And if the players can down tools again, how long before they do it again? I Look, some people got offended this morning when I said that this is like a cancer where there's no cure. People literally, there was a comment in the section this morning saying, I don't like the way that you used cancer. You know, it's very offensive to people who've got cancer. And I thought to myself, I've had friends and family members die of cancer. I don't think I'm being offensive to people who've got cancer or died of cancer by saying Manchester United, in a footballing sense, could well have a cancer that can't be cured. Like, come on. I know it's 2025 and people are trying to outlaw any type of speech, but what I mean is, in a footballing sense, we might be beyond curing, you know? Everybody assumes that there's a cure. What if there isn't? What if things get worse? Like, what if we did get relegated at some point? What if we never get back in the Champions League? What if we never win a Premier League title again? In life, we always want to believe about a happy ending. But what if there isn't one? Like, do any of you ever think that? Clearly some don't. Clearly some think that it's just as simple as changing the manager again. And the great thing is, the scary thing is, a year ago, I was having exactly the same conversation. I've got to put my hands up here. I have to put my hands up and say, I was doing this a year ago. I was saying about Ten Hag, we can't sack another manager. We've just spent £300 million. You know, at some point, we've got to go down the road less travelled. We've actually got to stick with somebody. And we didn't. We sacked Ten Hag, and a lot of people wanted that to happen. And then we appointed Amorim, and everyone was like, this is the guy. This is the guy. Oh, this is the guy. And then 11 months later, we want to sack the manager again. And here I am again saying, we need to, you know, maybe we need to go down the road less travelled and we stick through it. And I suppose I'm tired of it. You've asked a really good question, Dino. I'm tired of it. I think that's my answer. I am tired of it. I don't have any answers. I don't think anybody has any answers. I've never heard anybody say anything with any sense around Man United for a very long time. I don't think anybody can convince me that it's definitely right to stick with Amorim for another 2 years. But I definitely don't think anybody can convince me that we need to sack him right now. I just don't trust anything at the moment. And what I do know is, by sacking him, it's going to fucking ruin us financially. It's going to destroy us. We're in such a... Every time, I'm a firm believer that every time you sack a manager, you've got to be giving the new manager backing. I don't think Amorim's been backed properly yet either. So if they do sack him, I will say, you didn't properly back him. You didn't give him a midfielder. You didn't give him a goalkeeper. You didn't give him any fullbacks. You didn't give him a centre back. I mean, okay, Dorgu is a fullback on one side, but you know his system is wide players. If you brought in, I don't know, whoever your hipster is now, do you think they'll get backed? And I don't think they will. And that worries me. I mean, how many more managers are going to... And also, the pile of shit the next manager has to deal with as well is always bigger than the last. Mourinho got a second in Europa League with no defence, says Parker. I mean, with all due respect, Parker, I mean, the Titanic won a load of Oscars in the 90s. You know? So... Like, you know, we've got... And also, the Premier League is a completely different place to what it was 5 years ago, let alone 8. Like, it's a different world, mate. I've seen people today saying, Thomas Frank only had one summer transfer window and he's doing really well with Spurs. And I'm like... Are Spurs Man United? No. After the Man City game yesterday, they spoke about Man United for half an hour before they even spoke about Man City winning the game. We are different. We can't compare ourselves to anybody else. What somebody else does at another club or 10 years ago, you know, this job is very, very difficult. And whoever's going to get us back, if they're going to get us back, is going to need patience. Like, do you genuinely believe the next manager is just going to make us win 9 out of 10? Every game we lose has to be reacted to badly. Like, any game we lose is the end of the world. And yet, any team who wins the league might lose 6 games. We're in such a bad place at the moment. We can't lose. Like, any game we lose is just scrutinised. I don't know what the way back is. I wish I did. Mark, should a new generation of contracts change where a player can be fired? Seems only the manager can, and it gives the players too much power, says Space Cowboy. Yeah, but the whole of football would have to do that, wouldn't they? Evening, legends. Until we get rid of most of these players, we ain't progressing. How many managers have they thrown under the bus, says Mike. Stop the prop. Amorim is... Oh, I'm not going to read that, Bermudian. It's just an abuse of process. It can't always be the players, Mark. But it always has been the players. Dan. Sorry, Dan MUFC says it can't always be the players, Mark. But it always has been the players. I mean, we're literally talking about players that have sacked numerous managers. So, of course it can. It's not just the players. It's not all the players' fault, but they're the guys that go on the pitch. They're the guys that, like Paul Scholes was saying, you might not like the formation, but it doesn't mean you can't pass a shirt to a red shirt. It doesn't mean that your ability as a player can't come through. Unless you can't be asked. We're not getting a new midfielder until the summer, and he ain't changing, so he has to go. If Ruben isn't willing to adapt, we will finish 15th again, says Michael McLaughlin. He's not going to adapt. Mark, you said because he isn't going to change the system. If you want it changed, you hammer him out. He's not going to change. Bruno either. Does that same apply? No. No, that's not the same, is it? I don't want to change the formation, and I don't want to change the system. But if you do, he won't. So I don't know why you keep asking about it. Ange gone and they got better, says Aidan. Bit off topic, but do you think Ashworth anticipated? Oh no, I ain't subscribing to the stupid club. There is a bit of a stupid cult going round that Ashworth was a genius. This guy, Ashworth, is a chancer. He's a chancer. He wasn't on to something at all. This is a guy that wanted Gareth Southgate. Like, Gareth Southgate thought he was it. Gareth Southgate thought he was him. Guy can't get a job. So, why is there another bloody fly in here? It's Southgate. Factually worst Man United ever, says Rory. Thank you, Rory. Great comment. Really, really good. Thank you. Added loads. There is no fight in that team. No conviction, says Eddie Mack. We have a captain that didn't commit one single foul against City in the midfield, and one of our players high-fiving Doku, the opposition, when he was subbed off. What a shit show of a squad. Who did that, Which? Who high-fived Doku when they were subbed off? Didn't see that. When you can't cure it, you cut it out. We should have cut out the Glazers instead. We added a second tumour called Ineos, says Marios. Next manager's got to be a current Premier League manager, says Red Army. Come second 4 years ago under Ollie, says Robert. Yeah, exactly, 4 years ago. It's unbelievable how they're going to back a new man. Look, Robert, my point is, unless there are players here from there that are still that are decent, what's it got to do with anything? My point was, and the reason people keep talking about second 8 years ago or 4 years ago, is that some people want to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic and think it's going to make any difference, i.e. let's play 4-3-3. My point is, we played 4-3-3 under Ten Hag. The midfield was a fucking joke, and it's the same midfield. It's Mainu, Casemiro, and Bruno, plus Agate. And everyone thinks Agate's shit. So my point is, people are saying let's play a 4-3-3. But the midfield will still be shit because it was shit anyway. It's unbelievable how they're going to back a new manager if they can't back this one, says Chi. I'm honest. I'm going to be honest. I want Jose, says Keel. Next 5 games, says Josh. Chelsea at home, Brentford away, Sunderland at home, Liverpool away, Brighton at home. How many points did we get? Well, it's got to get 9. It's got to get 9 from 15, basically. Basically, it's got to beat Brentford, Sunderland and Brighton. Lose to Chelsea and Liverpool, we'd probably be all right, but I don't know. I don't know, Josh. I mean, we just got to take it as it comes, hasn't it? Hear me out. Deitch, says Jeff. Yeah, I heard you out. I'm moving on. I've Amorim in. He'll see Bruno isn't the answer and realise what's right in front of him. Surely. Managers need time and proper backing, and I'll stand by it, says Brandon. Look, Brandon, you've given us a super chat, so I will answer it. I don't know whether he watches. I don't know whether he listens. But I said it last night on purpose. Like, Bruno's going to be the hill that kills you. You're going to die on the hill of Bruno Fernandes in the midfield. I have never, ever heard any of you, who I respect, any ex-player, anybody. I've never heard anybody make a case for Bruno Fernandes in the midfield. All I hear is, oh, what are you hating on Bruno for? Because there's Bruno FC. Of course there is. There's Bruno FC. We know that. We had it with Bruno against Pogba. There was Bruno and Pogba FC. Never understood it. I liked them both. But apart from Bruno FC, you're saying, well, what are you hating on Bruno for? Even they won't say he should play in the midfield. They just say, what are you hating on him for? But they don't listen. Because we had a brilliant show in June. And the comments were amazing. Because we literally sat there as a community and went, if Bruno's going to be an 8, if Bruno's going to be a midfielder, and the Saudis want to give us 90 million, take the money. If Bruno's going to play at number 10, keep him. That was the conversation. There was no hate. It was like, if Bruno's going to play as a 10, keep him. If he's going to play in the midfield, sell him. It's not hate. It's not dislike. It's putting Van Dijk in midfield. If you said to Liverpool, right, we've got 2 world-class centre-backs now, and we're not going to play Van Dijk at centre-back, we're going to play him in the midfield, do you think Liverpool fans would go, fine, he's a club legend, it's fine? They'd go, what the fuck are you doing? Why have we done that? What have we done that for? Why are we moving one of the world's best centre-backs into the midfield? What are we fucking doing? And that's Liverpool. Like, they would be like, what are we doing putting Van Dijk in the midfield? He's not a midfielder. This is stupid. Put him back at the back or sell him. And it's exactly what we've done the other way around. We've took one of the, well, maybe not one of the world's, but one of the league's best 10s, and we put him in the midfield. And that's not hate. That's stupid. So I've never heard anybody go, I think this is great. In fact, if you're a TikToker and you want to be a bit hip, you get loads of views by going, this is why I think Bruno is a midfielder. Because nobody's actually done it, apart from Amorim. Amorim's the only guy in the whole world of football who thinks Bruno can play in the midfield. And that is so dangerous. Because I think there's a lot of people that want to back Amorim, and I'm certainly one of those. But you can't back him on that. It makes it really difficult to back him when he's doing something that everybody knows is ridiculous. First 4, we played 2 of them, our top 4 teams, and we haven't even played that bad, apart from the City game. Chelsea next, that's 3 out of 5. Amorim set up to fail by the league and the board with the hard starts, as Liam. You know what, Liam? Let's just take a breath for a moment. Nearly 20,000 watching, by the way. Absolute legends. Thanks for all your comments tonight. I just want to take a beat here. Liam, this is why I respect and enjoy these conversations, because whilst we border on frustration, it's not just scream and shouty, get him out and all this bollocks. You know, we can have the 8 o'clock shows are always very good. I've got to say, Liam, you've pulled me back to a point of like reflection, because I distinctly remember having this conversation, and if you're honest with yourself, so do you. I distinctively remember saying, looking at our first 5 games, there's a very real possibility that we might have 4 points from 15. And if we do, we shouldn't be that shocked, because 3 of the top 4 are in our first 5. We are heading towards that. And look what's happening. Get him out. Get rid of him. Sack him. You know. And actually, we finished 15th last year, and we're playing 3 of the top 4 in our first 5 games. It's like when the transfer window happens and the manager doesn't get backed, whether it's Jose, Ollie, Ten Hag or Amorim, everybody's very, very, very quick to say, this isn't on the manager. If it goes wrong, it's got to be on the board. And I always say, that's great. You're absolutely right. But I guarantee you when the results happen, you won't talk about the board, you'll talk about the manager. And here we are again, doing it again. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I think Liam raises a good point. You know, we have had 3 of the top 4 in the first 5 games, and we just can't deal with it. We can't. Losing is losing as a United manager. It doesn't matter who you've got. If you lose 3 of your first 5, you're Man United. You're going to get it. Amorim created the world of issues by not selling Bruno, but that sale would have brought him a lot more time and patience with the fans, says Jason. Yeah. You know what? I do agree, Jason. I think that if he'd sold Bruno, I think everybody would have gone, that's a huge call and he needs time. But by keeping him, if it doesn't work, you won't get time. We knew it in June. So many of you said that decision could be the decision that screws him over. But you know what? If the club wanted to sell Bruno, they'd have sold him anyway. The club backed that decision. It wasn't just Amorim. It wasn't Amorim's call. It was everybody else as well. The whole club, Sir Jim as well, they weren't selling him. Top 5 in 7 games, says JR. I hope so. I mean, I still stand by what I said at the start of the season. I don't think our season gets going till game 10. I really don't. But it's how bumpy it's going to get till game 10, isn't it? Or even if he gets to game 10. It's Groundhog Day. It's the same endless loop of crap. It's all on Ineos and the Glazers. The club is currently on life support. No easy way, says Eddie Mack. The system makes no difference, lads. These players cannot retain ball possession or make 5-yard passes. It's that simple. Even Stevie Wonder sees it, says I see dead bodies. Rory said, you said last season you were really worried about Amorim. It's only got worse since then. I am worried about Amorim. Mark, I agree with you that Amorim is rigid and wants to play the same system he used to play at Sporting, but in Sporting he'd not play an attacking midfielder at CM. Why is he doing it here? I don't know. King Cantonari. Again, another good question. Why does he put Bruno in the team? I think it's because he knows that United are worse without Bruno, which is true. We saw it against Grimsby. We saw it last season. We're worse. Amazingly, we're worse with Bruno out the team. That's a fact. Nobody can argue about that. We are worse without Bruno. It's been proven game after game after game. So he's in a position where I think he's like, he knows we're worse without Bruno. So he finds a way to get him in the team. I thought that's my only explanation. I very strongly believe that Amorim will keep us within touching distance of top 5 at the end of 10 games, and then it will get easier since we won't have Europe and we would have finished our games against the top 6, says Viniak. I hope he can survive to game 10, because I think it will get better. But you can't survive to game 10 if you lose another 4 games. He won't survive. Ranić has given the solution to our problems, but nobody wants to implement it. No amount of manager changes fixing our issues. Lets that sink in, says Red Devil. Mark, what players would you boot to start with? From there, Luke Shaw's got to go. Bruno's got to go out the midfield. Casemiro's got to go. Maguire's got to go out the starting lineup. So that's 4 straight away. Mount's got to go out the starting lineup. That's 5. Mazraoui can't be the right wing back. That's 6. I'm not selling all these players, by the way. I'm just looking at that team and I'm going, the right wing back's got to be better. Mount can't be the 10. Obviously, Rasmussen and Onana have gone, but Bienda's not a replacement. Luke Shaw, Maguire, Casemiro, Bruno, they've all got to go out that team as well. So 2 midfielders, a right wing back, a left-sided centre-back, a centre-back. Cunha and Mbeumo are fine. I mean, look, Cunha and Mbeumo are fine. I think Šeško will be fine. I think Dorgu will be fine. We haven't got a right wing back. The midfield needs totally renovating. I think De Ligt and Yoro are fine. A left-sided centre-back is needed. And a goalkeeper is needed. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players. We need half a team. I think the front 3 is fine. Šeško, Cunha and Mbeumo. I think Dorgu will be fine, although he's a work in progress. I think De Ligt and Yoro are fine, but Luke Shaw isn't. The midfield isn't. And I don't think Mazraoui or Delo are either. You know? What players would... there we go, Mendoza. Jamie, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much for getting your badge in. We really love that. Thank you very much, pal. If our players are not that good, then maybe we're getting managers that are too good for these players. Still have untouchable players. Bruno, says Hassan. I do think that's a really interesting thing. You know, I mean, we're sort of running out of time here, but we'll stay live for a little bit more. I've been off the after show today. If if I give Ruben Amorim the Liverpool job, he'd be a good coach. If I give Arne Slot the Man United job, he'd be a bad coach. I'm convinced by that. I'm not saying Amorim would win the league with Liverpool, because Slot's done a great job, but those players would respond to his system better. And Slot would struggle with these Man United players. And Pep would struggle with these Man United players, and Amorim would be a better coach than Man City. And Erling Haaland would struggle to play in a Man United side, but he would score goals in a Man City side. What am I saying? Well, basically, I'm talking shit because it's hypothetical. And Slot might put Man United in 7th, whereas Amorim might never take us above 10th. But he wouldn't put us in the top 6. Nobody's putting us in the top 6. And Erling Haaland might be the best striker in the world, but he won't score goals at Man United because we don't create those types of chances. So the point that I'm making really is that sack Amorim, keep Amorim in, Amorim out. The next manager ain't got a magic wand. That's what I'm trying to say. Whoever comes in faces a ridiculous job. Maybe Amorim's not the guy. Maybe Ten Hag wasn't the guy. Maybe Ollie wasn't the guy. Maybe we've been really unlucky and we've made loads and loads of bad choices, and maybe there is a right choice. But even if we have a right choice, it won't put us in the top 6 in our current guys. That squad is not a top 6 team. It's just not. It really isn't. And you know, somebody said it this morning, and I think they're correct. Why do you think Ruben Amorim wanted Watkins instead of Šeško? Why do you think Ruben Amorim wanted Martinez instead of Le Mans? I know why. You know why. Why didn't we do it? He wanted players to come in and make an instant impact. Man United decided to go for a longer term thing. Well, I hope they're going to go longer term with the manager, because you can't refuse a manager short-term options and give them long-term options, but then go short-term on the manager. There's contradictions all over the place, basically. Bad management. Bad management runs all the way through. Bad leadership runs all the way through. The captain's bad. The manager's bad. The ownership's bad. It's a constant theme running through the whole team. Apparently Fabrizio Romano said there was a possibility of Agate leaving Man United last summer, with Italian clubs expressing interest in a loan deal, but United decided to keep him. Yeah, because a loan deal doesn't bring any money in. Thoughts on Onana being man of the match in Turkey, says Rory. Do you want my honest thoughts, Rory? Revisionism is hilarious. So Onana had a good game, did he? I don't know. Apparently, so Onana, I mean, Rory might be rage baiting. Rory the rage baiter. As I said, there are different levels of football analysis and fans. If people think we made a mistake getting rid of Onana because he's playing well for Trabzonspor, maybe they should go and support Trabzonspor. Because it ain't systems or tactics with a goalkeeper. And my eyes don't deceive me. Are we out the Carabao Cup because he's shit? Is he a goalkeeper that plays volleyball instead of football? I mean, you can maybe say that, you know, Rasmus didn't get service. You know, Garnacho didn't get the development he needed. But a goalkeeper, they're not system or formation specific. They're asked to do a very simple job. And he was crap. So, no, if he ends up doing well at Trabzonspor, well, shame on him, because he was fucking shit for us. Bruno is too erratic for the system that needs specialists in each position. Thank you very much, Vernon. Honestly, the best midfield pairing has to be Casemiro and Agate. What would we lose from giving them a go? Also, hands up if you want Thomas Frank, says Simply Red. Well, a few of you did want Thomas Frank. I'm not going to, you know, definitely, yeah, you did. Look, Casemiro's a short-term option, but I absolutely do agree with this, and I said this morning, and I'll say it to you again. If I'm the manager of that team, I'm sticking 2 specialist midfielders there. You know, Casemiro and Agate, Mainu and Agate. That's what I'm doing. And that's where I can't defend this manager. I don't think he needs to change the system. I don't think he needs to change the formation. It would be stupid. A manager that doesn't play 4-3-3, asking a team to play 4-3-3 is illogical. Doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. You may as well sack him. But what he can do is stick 2 midfielders in the midfield. I don't think he's going to do it, But I absolutely agree. Stick 2 midfielders in the midfield. Like, it will get better instantly. Because the upside of Bruno playing there isn't there. Arshan says, when I hear Jose's name again, I get depression. Do you think there was any talk in the club about Nuno? No. Citizen Z, I've been very relaxed throughout this show and I've really enjoyed it. But Nuno is the most boring manager you could ever want. I don't know why. I've heard a few people talking about it. I know we've hit rock bottom, but trust me, no Man United fan will put up with that shit. It might get results, but it's boring. It's park the bus and counter. Like, I would rather lose 4-3 every game and play good football than park the bus and scam results. It's just, it sounds like you can put up with it, but we won't put up with it. If the owners support Amorim and Amorim ain't changing this system, we need £1 billion to buy 20 players. That would take 4 to 5 summers, and by then, Mainey might be gone. Sheshko and Burmo Cunha might have had enough, says Mojo. Can you wish my friend Cyrus a happy birthday, says Malik. Happy birthday, pal. Ten Hag played a 4-2-3-1. It's different. A true 4-3-3 is 6 with 2 8s, not a dumb double pivot. Check. Yeah, Victoria, we haven't got the players to do it. Ruben in here, not against 3-4-3, but the instructions, says Jacob. It's not a formation issue, says Patrick. It's a style of play issue. These players prefer pragmatic counter-attack football. Amorim's style of football is about playing on the front foot and possession. That's why it failed with Ten Hag too. Absolutely. I mean, I just couldn't. I always say Patrick Lynch is the voice of reason. I mean, you just literally couldn't analyse it better than that. It's just so true and it's so simple. Like, it's not a formational issue. It's not a system-y issue. It's a style of play issue. It is. The best football we've played at this football club in the last 10 years is sit and counter. Ollie, Jose, it's counter-attack. These players fundamentally are counter-attacking players. Maguire, Shaw, they like to sit deep and counter. Bruno likes to get the ball and hit a Hollywood ball. These are not possessional players. These are not players that, can keep the ball and move it around quickly. They're counter-attacking teams. Rashford, counter-attacker. This whole team, the only time it's been successful is when we play counter-attacking football. Ollie ball. They're fundamentally indoctrinated into that. It's a great point, and it's absolutely true. We can't play football like you want. Somebody just referenced Liverpool. We can't play like Liverpool. Have you watched Liverpool? Apart from the fact that it's Liverpool, you'd be like, oh my God, what is this? It's amazing. We can't play like that. We can't play fast, one-touch football. We can't transition through 5 or 6 stages of play up the pitch. We can't do it. We take a touch, we look, we pass it sideways. We're always looking for that killer pass. And it's absolutely true. It's not formational. It's the style of play they're struggling with. They can't play the style of football that, Amorim wants to play. And nobody wants to say it. But the only time we've been successful in the last decade is by counter-attacking. And these players want to counter-attack. That's what they want to do. That's why we hit these diagonals all the time. Why is it every manager that we've had, we still hit long diagonals? Because they're just obsessed with the long counter-attack. That's what they want to do. Did any of our players go and talk about how Bruno missed a penalty against Fulham to the media, says Ron Darnold. How do you think we would have fared if instead of buying Mbeumo, we bought a midfielder, says David? I don't know, because ultimately I think we needed Mbeumo, Cunha and a midfielder. So I don't criticise the signing of Mbeumo and Cunha, I just criticise the lack of a midfielder. I still think we need 5 players. Are we bringing Belabor in January, says Hyans? I think we've got to get to January first, mate. I'm not blaming the manager alone, but something has to change, and it's easier to change the manager than to change every player, says Touchpad. How's that gone for you? I'm not being confrontational, but, that's exactly the problem, isn't it? It's easier to change the manager than the players. How's that gone? How many times have we done it? Has it changed anything, or are we more in debt, more in trouble? And what people don't realise is every time we change the manager, we plunge ourselves more into debt. It costs us money to do it. We have to pay that manager off. We have to pay the new manager. We have to buy new players. The players that the previous manager bought decrease in value by about 50% straight away because they're classed as flops. I don't think people realise that every time we replace a manager, it puts us more into debt. Like, did Anthony, Casemiro, Martinez, Ericsson, and Rasmus, and Mount, and Onana go up in value the day that Ten Hag got sacked? Do you think Cunha and Mbeumo and Šeško and Dorgu will go up in value the day Amorim gets sacked? It's like, it's not just the price of sacking and recruiting a manager. You wipe off value on every signing that they made as well. It's not saying it's not the right thing to do, but it hasn't gone well every time we've done it. Ahmad's a 10 and not a wing back. I don't like having two left-footed players on the right. We can't get any serious width on the overlap to make decent crosses, as Scott. How serious were we in the transfer window? A team in 25 still has Shaw, Bruno, Maguire, Casemiro. What's really changed, says John. Yeah, if you've tuned in late, that's the starting lineup from the Europa League final, which is the shittest game I've ever seen Man United play. 9 of those players are still here. Matthew H says, Shaw lost me when he went to the Euros. And Mr. Lopez says, in the worst case scenario that Amorim gets sacked, couldn't... Oh, no. There's another one talking about Nuno. What's happened to our fan base to talk about Nuno? I mean, we're talking about bloody Southgate next. God. Is that, you know, serious question, is that basically what you want then? You just want results? You don't care about the style of football. It's just, let's grind out some results. I mean, have we not had that with Ollie? I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I just want... I want Man United to win playing good football. They're not exclusive. They have to come together. It has to be win playing good football. If Liverpool can win playing good football, our biggest rival, then why would I settle for just winning? I want to win playing good football. Like, that's what I want. I don't want to go and get a fucking boring manager that might grind us a few results out. I want to win playing good football. I don't think it's too much to ask. So if Amorim goes, I don't want to go for fucking Nuno or Southgate. I want to go for somebody that plays good football and wins. So no, Nuno, no, for me. Absolutely not. Camel wants Xavi in. There's no world-class specialist for this system, says Rob McCormack. Would you have kept Ten Hag as touchpad? I'd have kept him to the end of the season. I don't agree with the worst without Bruno crowd. We need to build a team without Bruno and give it time, says Marlow. Well, we should have done it in the summer. Bruno to Saudi, Belabour and Water in, says Andrew. I mean, we faced top 5 in our first 7 games, says JR. I remember Jim saying if he feels like he failed, he'll consider selling to Qatar. Do you think he will? No. I don't, Gio. Mitchell says, why not play academy players with new signings instead of sticking with the useless bunch? Even if we lose, nothing new anyway. But people, if we lose, they'll want him out. Top 5 in 7 games, says JR. Do you think Amorim would have done better at Liverpool where he was linked to because the quality of the squads are completely different, says Kieran? I think if you've got a squad that wants to play football, you'll do better with a footballing coach. I think Patrick nailed it. This team is a counter-attacking team. We needed a board and potentially a manager with the backbone to sell their best player to make an example to the other players that anyone can go, says Luke. How much influence is Wilcox on Amorim? Big. Big. They're all in it together. Bruno could be your Coutinho. Imagine the players that you could have got for him. You're absolutely right. He should have been sold in the summer, says Sully. And how many points does Ruben need in the next 5 games? 9, Reese. Victoria says, I just speak my truth. Thank you very much. Going to my first game versus Chelsea, coming from Switzerland with my wife. She doesn't watch football, praying we only see Chelsea goals. We won't only see Chelsea goals, says DK. One thing we've never done is go back. Jose in, says Keel. Rooney's available, says John. James says, do you reckon Amorim will last longer than Ollie? No. At this moment, if I'm giving you an honest answer, I mean, he's not even been here a year. If Ollie was here for 3 years... Yeah, Ollie was here for 3 years because he came in halfway through, didn't he? Yeah, I mean, Amorim's not even done a year. I mean, I'd love him to do it, but I don't think he will. If Amorim took Bruno out the midfield, I'd have nothing bad to say about him, says Park. I think I'm going to stop the show because we'll just go on and on and on. But if you want to pick Bruno, put him as a 10. Cunha's injured. Like, it's the perfect time. Put Bruno at 10 with Mbeumo and play in proper midfield against Chelsea. I feel that that is the decision to make. You don't have to drop Bruno that way, but you can solve your midfield problem. And I'm stunned that he keeps putting Bruno in the midfield. But I fully expect him to be in the midfield against Chelsea. I really do. And I've never known, you know, for all the bad managers we've had, Moyes, Van Gaal, Ollie, you know, whoever, I have never known any of them make a decision that absolutely the whole world of football can't understand and stick by it. And that's what terrifies me about Amorim, and it's the stubbornness. I don't care about the system. I don't care about the formation. I agree with Patrick. I think the players don't like the system and the formation because it's not that. It's the style of play. They want to play counter-attacking football, which nobody wants to see. But the Bruno thing terrifies me. Put him as a 10. We have 3 games before the next break. Is 4 points the bare minimum? I think going into the break with less will be really bad, says Carlos. The more he loses, the more the momentum will grow. And we've all played this game before. The second international break, numerous times, has been sack the manager. I remember it with Jose, I remember it with Ollie, and I remember it with Ten Hag. So we are heading towards a toxic October international break, aren't we? But, you know. The problem is, I was going to end the show. The problem is, if you're a player at Manchester United and the manager's job's... This is a great point, right? If you're a player at Manchester United and the manager's job is in danger and you're getting a load of shit, it's actually in your interests to make sure that manager gets sacked, because history shows you won't lose your job. You can be responsible for bad results, but if a manager gets sacked, you won't lose your job. And United need to change that, because when the going gets tough, the players down tools. And that's what worries me about every manager at Man United, is in this situation, we've seen it so many times, with Jose, with Ollie, with Ten Hag, with Rangnick, and now with Amorim. This starts to happen, and the players start to go, instead of rolling my sleeves up and fighting like my career depends on it, I'll just go through the motions, because ultimately, if he gets sacked, I'll be fine. Because whoever the next manager is, you still stay. And that's what worries me, because when Ollie was going to get the sack, none of those players lost their job. Rangnick came in, they were still getting picked. Rangnick loses his job. Ten Hag comes in, none of them lose their job. Ten Hag gets sacked, none of them lose their job. Amorim gets sacked, none of them lose their job. There is no incentive for these players to save Amorim, because there was none to save Ten Hag. There was none to save Rangnick. There was none to save Ollie. There's no reason for them to be worried about the managers getting sacked, because someone else will come in and they'll just get picked. And that's the problem. There's no incentive for them to actually work, because Victor Lindelof was here for 8 years. Delo's been here for that, 7 years? Luke Shaw's been here for 50. Like, it doesn't matter how you play on the pitch. You stay at the club. And Sir Jim might be sat there going, at the end of the day, I don't get it. I don't get it. Well, I get it. The problem is, everybody in that football club knows if a manager gets sacked, that'll be the end of it. Doesn't matter how bad you play in a shirt, you will still... How many games has some of those players played in where we've all gone, sell them all? Hold that. How many of those players have played in games over the years where we've gone, sell them all, and yet they're still here? You don't lose your job as a player at Man United. Other clubs get rid of players, like they do. They'd go, I want to get rid of most of those. But at United, we keep them. There's no culpability. There's no consequences to bad performances at Man United. In fact, the only manager that has shown any consequences is Ruben Amorim. He's the only person that's actually said, get out of this club. I mean, Garnacho, Rashford, Anthony, they must be in shock. They must be stunned. They're like, this doesn't happen. What do you mean, get out? Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We're back at 10 tomorrow. Really good show tonight. Really appreciate all your comments. It doesn't give us any solutions, I know, but it gives us some therapy, I think. Do I think Bruno will still be in the midfield? Yes. Do I think that's going to be the hill that Amorim will die on? Yes. Do I want the manager to be sacked? No. Is it contradictory? Yes. Am I tired and fatigued? Yes. Do I think there's a way back for United? Answers on a postcard. I can't see it. Stay safe, everyone. Take care. At least we've got each other, and I'll speak to you on the next one.